Who knows, but there's a few things we're waiting on answers. It happens.
Yeah, it came up at the joint plan commission last week. The township has finally given a written response to the city, sent to them end of last week. Since they brought it up, I indicated that we were interested in getting into the meeting. They were fine with that. Interested in, Robert was there, Marty was not. But anyway, indicated that she was. Yeah. Oh, she was falling in love with herself. Nice last night.
I don't like it.
Yeah. No, exactly. So no, she was fine. And I told her.
That's good news.
Yes, it would. I thought it was very positive.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I guess,
They got a big black eye on
let's
that.
get a break off our proclamations.
Cool.
Wish I could go. I'm gonna be up in Manistee.
Tell them to bring a check.
Unacceptable.
Well, I just got there. I have reservations and everything.
Catherine, tell them to bring a check.
Is there gonna be sheet cake?
There'll be desserts, yep.
We'll save you some.
Yeah.
We'll go, we'll plan another day down there.
I'll do anything for some snacks. Okay. I'll sit
They
through
have a,
boring meeting for 2 hours.
Consistent like that.
Yeah.
we put in a new parking lot and my friends
I know this is
on Baseline Road, so you can see it.
On the higher parking lot?
No, on the lower part.
On the lower lot,
On
isn't it?
Baseline. Not the one on the left. On Baseline Avenue.
Yeah, that's the one. I call it the higher one. The
Elevation one?
Yeah, elevation.
Yes, it's higher now. And big trees came down on each side of the fence, literally like this.
Thank you.
Divine intervention.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a positive thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
bless me.
And then when you get a minute, that's just for you to say thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
morning, sir.
Got it knocked out.
Bruce? Bruce? Okay.
Nature of the beast.
Glad you guys are getting to know each other.
Yeah, yeah. We're working on it. Well, that's not even my agenda. There we go. Good morning and welcome to the Berry County Board of Commissioners meeting for May 27th, 2025. If you would please stand for our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance.
This morning, we're going to have a moment of silence. We just celebrated Memorial Day yesterday, and just to keep in mind all of those who have served our country over these years and given their life in the millions, that just take a moment to reflect on why we were celebrating yesterday and the thought for those family and those people that had gave their life for our country. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, for purposes of attendance, would you please call the roll?
Bassett is absent. Carlton.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Getty. Here. Hatfield.
Here.
Smelkers absent. Tunison.
Here.
And Jackson.
Here. Thank you. Reports from state or county officials. Are there any state or county officials with us this morning that would like to address or update the board? Thank you. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes for any item listed on the agenda. I like it when you guys cooperate like this. Approval of the written agenda. At this time, any member of the board may ask for an item to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under items for consideration.
Hearing no such request, does any commissioner wish to change the agenda additionally? Hearing no such request, the agenda is approved as written. Various correspondence, does any commissioner have correspondence they would like to share with the board? Thank you. Consent agenda. Commissioner Getty?
I move for A, approval of the May 13th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes. B, approval of the attached professional services agreement between Berry County and the Berry Conservation District for recycling coordinator services for 36 months effective June 1st, 2025 through May 31st, 2028, as recommended by the Materials Management Planning Committee. C, approval of a contract with 46 Entertainment to provide county services, 911, sheriff, and emergency management to the June 13-14 Rock the Country event to be held at the Berry County Expo Center.
Is there support?
Support, Hatfield.
Motion by Getty, support by Hatfield. For all items listed on the consent agenda, discussion is not allowed and a roll call vote is required. All those in favor vote aye and opposed vote nay. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bassett's absent. Carlton?
Aye.
Campbell?
Aye.
Getty?
Aye.
Hatfield?
Aye.
Smelker's absent. Tunison?
Aye.
And Jackson.
Aye. The consent agenda is approved. Presentations this morning, we have MSU Annual Report and Update. We have a team this morning.
I did, yeah, we brought a gang. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present the MSU Extension Annual Report today. My name is Kelly Kieran, and I serve as the 4-H Supervisor and Staff Development Educator for Berry County, as well as Kent, Ottawa, and Allegan counties. As you may know, our former District Director, Scott Korpak, made the decision to return to his roots in K-12 education. While we search for a permanent replacement, Bill Hendrian is serving as our interim District Director. Bill is currently at another meeting connected to funding from one of our other impactful Berry County partners, the Berry County United Way. Joining me today are two of our dedicated 4-H team members. Lily Arriaga joined our team in July of 2023 and now leads the Berry County 4-H program. And Stephanie Harvey, who came on board in February as a part-time 4-H support staff and has been instrumental in assisting with countywide program needs. Berry County has supported MSU Extension programming since 1914, and thanks to your continued partnership with us, we're able to offer impactful educational services in areas such as youth development, health and nutrition, agriculture, community and economic development, and land use and environmental education. We provided a copy of the annual report that Scott Korpak prepared for the agenda packets, along with short bios on Lily and Stephanie. And I would like to highlight some of the impacts that are mentioned in the report, expand on some, and add a couple of facts that are significant but may not have been included. And then finally, we would love to answer some questions you may have. 518 Berry County residents participated in nutrition and physical activity education programs in 2024. 290 individuals engaged in SNAP Ed programs focused on healthy eating and budgeting. Since 2021, health educator Laura Anderson has conducted annual menu reviews at the Berry County Jail to ensure they meet dietary needs. And in partnership with Corewell Health, we offered the Personal Action Toward Health program for diabetes. One class was held in 2024, and we are expecting 2 additional classes to be scheduled for 2025. The Nashville Community Garden was established in 2024 through a collaboration between our 4-H program coordinator, Lily, and Commissioners Catherine Getty and Michael Carlton, and other Berry County community members. The garden has been instrumental in leading programming for both 4-H and Extension's health and nutrition program, including a community outreach event last summer. Now this is the part I really like to talk about, our 4-H program. 893 youth are enrolled in traditional year-round 4-H clubs in Berry County. I think this number is really impressive because it's more than double Allegan County's enrollment, no offense to Allegan County, and 4 times Kent County's enrollment. And when you think about the population of Berry County, which is half of Allegan County, we have more than double the kids in 4-H here, which is amazing. And in 2024, Berry County 4-H staff supported 46 new 4-H volunteers through the selection process, bringing our total number of active 4-H volunteers to 247. For comparison, Ottawa County has 134 volunteers, Kent County has 135, and Allegan County has 164. Again, we have 247 volunteers here in Berry County, which is amazing. If you would be so kind, I'm going to hand it off to my 4-H staff a little bit to just talk a little more about their program in detail.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lily. I'm the 4-H program coordinator here for Berry County. And as Kelly mentioned, we had over 40 new volunteers just in this last year. And now for this program year, we have 11 new volunteers. And what I love to talk about too is the amount of kids that we have. Last year, we had about 893 kids, and this year we're coming up to 819. And our program year is still coming up close to fair, so we still have more time for a lot more kids to sign up. Also, in this past year, we had 7 new clubs join us. So we had clubs from Mooville join us from Nashville. And compared to in previous years, like last year, our numbers are looking pretty good. We had 893, where we're coming up with 819 this year for kids. Especially since COVID, our numbers have started to get back up there. When COVID came, our numbers dropped to 600 kids signed up, whereas before COVID, they were getting to 900. So we're coming up close this year.
I did just want to hop in really quick. I have a couple of things to chat about. I also have our strategic direction plan from our interim director, Bill. So I have those here if you guys would like a copy. There's one for each of you. A really cool thing that Berry 4-H talks about a lot is the county fair. And so we have an amazing partnership with the Agricultural Society at the Berry County Expo Center. And we work with them throughout the year to prepare for the fair, and we are getting close to July, which means fair is right around the corner. As kids begin to prepare for fair, we focus on an educational component as well. They have been able to attend a few workshops within the past month. Rabbit and Kiwi workshop happened at the Expo Center, and so did a goat showmanship workshop. And then kids also are required to have an educational presentation of some kind at the fair, whether that be a notebook or a poster. They talk about all that they've learned throughout the year and how they've grown their knowledge of their project area. We also have increased 2 project areas this year, poultry and horse. That's super exciting. We love to see project areas increasing their numbers and getting more students involved. And then we also, while partnering with the fair, obviously kids are able to show their animals and sell their animals, but we also partner with the Berry County Commission on Aging to do a show and tell presentation for Senior Day. So we are a part of that as well, which is maybe a role people don't always know about, but we love to be a part of. I'm going to quick talk about a few programs, but that is Lily's expertise, so I'm going to pass it back to her in a second. We work with the Hastings Library throughout the school year, and we also have a Youth Maker Space program this summer. There's also a youth garden club that takes place at the Hastings Public Library, which we are a part of. And then we also have our youth garden program with the Putnam Library, which takes place at the Nashville Community Garden.
Yes. Although we love fair, we also love having our programs apart from fair. We go to public libraries, as Stephanie mentioned, but we also do programming at like the YMCA Y-Time. And this year we're also going to Delton Kellogg schools. Last year we collaborated with their Delton Community Garden for their summer school to offer programming there. And then this year we're going to continue our partnership with the Panthers Daycare Clubhouse. So.
We're proud of the continued impact MSU Extension has across Berry County and remain committed to helping residents thrive through education, collaboration, and community engagement. We desire to continue to find new ways to engage with the communities within Berry County. To do that best, it requires key leaders like you to reach out to Extension when there are issues facing any group that may benefit from additional resources. Thank you again for your time and your continued support of MSU Extension. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Colton?
I know from, for Lily, has just been a tremendous gift to the Nashville Community Garden. She not only brings so much knowledge, in fact, she taught me and my wife about how to cook tomatillo tomatoes and make like green salsa, which now is like a staple in our house. But she's out there a lot, doing the hard work, which the garden requires, many, many hours. So I'm thankful for her.
Thank you.
Commissioner Getty?
I don't want us to breeze over this report. I look at the second to the last page and the list of programs and the diversity of programs that MSU Extension offers. It's, it's amazing what they're able to do with relatively little resources and the impact they have in Berry County. And you can see that at the fair for sure, and the dollars that the sales generate, that's a very tangible figure. But I think the lives that are changed through this, relatively small print on this bullet list, it's really something. So don't leave today without reading every bullet on that list, because it's amazing what they're able to do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tennyson?
Well, I want to thank you guys for what you do, but personally, when I interact with these kids that come to me as a business owner and want me to buy their pigs or cows or whatever, I'm really amazed by how they can interact with adults. And I think that's one of the greatest things that they can get out of 4-H is how they learn how to communicate. They learn eye contact. They tell you how they're out there being responsible and feeding it every day. And I think the parents hold them to that, right? I mean, that's what they're taught. The group leaders say, you're responsible for this, okay? And it's teaching them life skills all the way down the line. So I think it's a great program, and to know that there's almost 900 kids involved is amazing to me, and the amount of parents that get involved with this is amazing to me too. So thank you.
Thank
for that.
you.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yeah, I just want to say that about 20 years of my life has been dedicated to 4-H. Thank you. Thank you to my wife. My wife has been a leader in it for a long time. My kids were in the horse part of it, and so if my wife was a part of it, that made me a part of it. And I think the most amazing thing, I'll add to what Bob said there, was you see some of these kids come into the group, and it's like, oh my God, he's got some issues here. And it's just like overnight, these kids just change. They change, they become different people. And I think that's the best thing about 4-H is to see the change it really truly makes in these kids. So appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hatfield?
Well, I come from a household that's been heavily influenced by 4-H. My wife, and both of my daughters are all product of 4-H upbringing. But what I really want to talk about is the fact that Lily and Stephanie were at Kiwanis a couple of weeks ago and just did a phenomenal presentation. It was one of the better programs that we've had at Kiwanis, and I think you can see just by their presence today that they bring an energy level, commitment, and enthusiasm that makes them very effective. So great staff, great programs, wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Same, I appreciate the presentation and I appreciate the energy. I think we all felt it, that your enthusiasm comes across with the smiles and with the results especially, because 893 kids, 247 volunteers, and putting us way ahead of where our adjoining counties are. It's pretty impressive for Little Berry County, so we're pretty impressed with that, but that leadership is from what you guys bring to it is also amazing. So, and I agree with Catherine, when you look through the list of things that you're involved in, that outreach is important to Berry County. The only couple questions I had was, sure, how are you continuing the outreach? How are you continuing to bring kids into this program? Are you going out to the schools? How do we blend these programs?
Yes, so we're actually at a lot of community events where we go to schools like the Thornapple Kellogg schools, and we set up informational tables where we're able to recruit volunteers and also kids.
Okay. So you do it primarily through the schools where you're getting people involved? Volunteers the same way, or is it parents connected with their kids?
Volunteers the same way. We also go to community events like Berry Berry. We're also going to be at Hastings Pride. We set up our little table there. We have informational flyers that we give out. I try giving out my business cards, 4-H swag, just to get the kids involved and
Okay.
volunteers.
Awesome.
They also have gone to the Home and Garden Show, which is held in Kent County, but it brings in people from all over, and that's another opportunity for them to engage with both adults that have special talents they may be able to share with youth, but also kids when they come to Kids Day at the Home and Garden Show. Sometimes Berry County even steals kids from other counties for their 4-H program, just so you know. Shh, don't tell the other counties.
Okay, and I think it was last year, there were questions on, some of the commissioners were trying to reach out to the office, MSU Extension Office, and having a tough time finding people in the office or established office hours. That's been rectified, or is?
Yeah, so we do have established office hours, and we have an office staff who's there on Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 3.
Yeah, and the other staff that are in the Berry County office, they're out programming sometimes, so they're not always able to be there, but we do have an office staff person who's there for those specific hours.
Okay, fantastic. When you have a new director, be sure you bring him by and introduce him
Absolutely.
for us as well.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments from commissioners?
I have one question. Who heads up the 4-H Youth Garden Program? I may have an opportunity,
Lily is your girl.
but I will talk.
Absolutely. The neighboring counties are also trying to get community gardens started, and they are going to Lily because of the Nashville Community Garden and how successful that's been. Just another tidbit of information.
No, we're not sharing.
You don't have to share Lily, but she has to share her brain. She's full of knowledge.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Mr. Chair, Commission, I just want to reiterate, I think MSU Extension is a fabulous resource for the community. What you heard 4-H today, but remember, they also do the new commissioner program. They do what the communities want. They do economic development in some places, GIS, planning, zoning. It's just a great resource. So I think Commissioner Smelker accused Michael and I of being biased because we're proud Spartan grads, but I think we just see the value. So good job. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I just wanted to get that 2 seconds in. In 22, you approved just over $12 million in ARPA funds to be distributed to different projects in the community. It's been a few years, and I've heard there have been a few questions out there, so I wanted to just kind of give you an update about where the projects stand, but also give the opportunity for those people who receive funds to come and give an update on where they're at on everything. So in my report, I apologize for not being in the packet, but I finished it up this morning. It's just very brief, but really the water supply, water tower project in Freeport is complete and operational. I know Lainey wanted to be here, but I think as you heard, there's United Way meetings going on right now. But she was proud to say that Freeport was the first in the county to finish their project. And she'll tell everybody and everybody that. Berry Township, as I think we heard last week was mentioned, they're getting close on their project. They've spent all their money, so anything left is on Berry Township's time. The Rutland Township sewer study has $4,110 left. We haven't received an expense since the first quarter that we were reimbursed, so I'll be reaching out to Rutland here with sometime this year to make sure if there's anything left they can account for, because we need to spend all these dollars by December 26th, and we want to make sure we use every cent that we can and not return anything. Berry Community Foundation, the food hall project is fully spent. I think Commissioner Getty and the team, and I see Bonnie in the crowd, will be here to answer some questions, provide some information here shortly. You heard from Dan Patton last week where they stand. That's one with the most left in the fund, and that was just weather got in the way. Otherwise, I think, as you heard Dan say, they would have been done. They're just over, and I think that's a little heavy. I think we had a bill come in since the last quarter, so they're over $200,000 left to spend, and that's all accounted for. It'll be gone this year, Dan has assured me. Stephanie, Director Lehman, I see in the crowd, that we've heard from them that the tower is operational, but Stephanie also provided a written report because I'd originally told everyone we were doing this last week and she couldn't be here, but she's here today, and I'll let her talk more about her project. The road commission, that was lost revenue, so that was, as soon as we gave it to them, that was spent. Premium pay, I know the employees who were here at the time were very grateful, and that obviously was spent already. And then the public safety allocation, which was considered lost revenue for the county, so we were able to use that to just say, hey, it's spent already. We don't, so in case we don't spend money by December 26, it's considered spent from ARPA purposes. So we don't have to return that when the time comes, which is key. So really, as you see on the second page, you're just over $250,000 that's left on ARPA funds to be spent. Obviously, you have those funds in reserve at the public safety project. I gave a little bit more information on each status of the project, and then when we do finish these projects off, I will have one final report for you that kind of lays out the impact. I think Director Lehman did a tremendous job with her report, really to give you that feedback. So with that being said, I'm going to invite them up, let them fill in any gaps. I'll start with Stephanie.
Good morning. I won't stand here and talk for 20 minutes. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. The project, or this leg of the project, is totally complete. It encompassed not one tower, but two communications towers. Total project cost $6,214,264. So just shy of $6 million were was all grant funded, not only from ARPA, but we also received a $3 million allocation in the 2023 State of Michigan budget. We worked with then House Rep. Julie Kelly and Senator Albert on that. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Towers are live. They've been live since November. We have increased radio coverage, not only outside but also indoor, tremendously compared to what we previously had. So we had the one site, we did not own that. The state still owns it, but we do have equipment on that site. It's the tower over in Nashville, the site in Hastings, and the site in Middleville we now own. And so for our Berry County system, all three of those sites are considered one. It operates as a simulcast system, meaning the computer or the zone controller for the state system views all those three sites as one. And so why would we want to do that? Because we want to increase coverage. And so simulcast costs a little bit more than standalone or ASR. And so the same equipment is at all three of those sites, and what it does is it floods the area with RF, with radio frequency, to increase coverage. So I know you've heard me talk about this ad nauseum. The project is not complete. We're doing the best that we can to keep up with emerging technologies. I don't know that we'll ever beat it. Additional sites are needed, especially in the south end of our community. And then, like February of last year, we were made aware of some federal guidelines for land mobile radio that were adopted at the state level, most specifically for encryption, and we're going to have to adopt those standards by 2030. So every radio on the system will have to meet a very specific encryption, a level of encryption, and it's incredibly expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It is what it is. It is. You've heard me talk about this a million times. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I've tried to get more money federally at the state level, and I think everybody's tired of hearing from me about it. So we're kind of at where we're at with this for now. But it is tenfold better than what it was before. So.
Questions for Stephanie?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Thank you.
Commissioner Colton.
How tall is the new Nashville Tower?
475 feet.
Because I drove up there a few times and watched this process. I didn't know how they were going to put it together if a helicopter lowers pieces down, but they just had this giant crane that was that tall, and it was fascinating to watch. But what I didn't realize, I was in Woodland at their meetings. While that Nashville Tower was down, it affected their service.
It did.
Drastically.
Yep. So
And-
we had a temporary tower there that had our simulcast equipment on it, but that tower was only 125 feet. So the difference between 475 and 125 is a lot. So yes, it tremendously impacted coverage on that side of the county, and then the further north and the further south that you went, the more degradation we had of service.
Yeah, I didn't realize how integrated those things were until they said that Woodland's like 10 miles away from there, so.
Yeah, and there's actually a site just over into Sunfield and one into Portland. And so, I mean, that's the beauty of having the state radio system. They all connect and all talk to each other to provide coverage. It gets really technical from there, so I'm gonna leave it there.
One last question. And this is somewhat personal, but how long can my wife listen to the police on her little radio thing?
So the mandated encryption guidelines are going to change some of that. And so we technically are behind a little bit in terms of our talk groups being encrypted. There is one that CGIS or the FBI requires that we already have encrypted, and we don't, because of the average age of the portable radio in Berry County right now. And so the talk groups themselves, or the frequency, or the talk group is what the channel that we're talking on, think of it as the channel. So encryption comes in two ways. They can be strapped, where the talk group is encrypted all the time, or on a radio, they have a device, a toggle switch, if you will, to turn it on and off. Most of the portables in service in Berry County are over 10 years old, and they don't have the ability to hold the encryption key. Now, encryption also gets really, really tricky because you can have your own local key, you can use the state's key. We access all of our surrounding counties' major talk groups for interoperability. That would create what's called a super key to be able to have our keys plus their keys. And so that is also a very technical thing. A lot of engineering goes into it. But the answer to your question is device replacement is really important. And so for 2 years now, I've been talking about this, most specifically with our fire and EMS agencies. You need to be preparing a capital outlay to replace those outdated devices that aren't able to handle encryption. They have less than 5 years now. By 2030, they have to be. Now, the specific talk group that I referenced we're behind, I'm actually going to be audited on that this year. And even though we won't be found out of compliance because the talk group is not encrypted, we have to show that we're moving towards that. I'm ready to go. At dispatch, we're ready. Our consoles carry the encryption that we need them to carry. But I didn't have, $1 million to purchase radios for everybody else in the county to make sure that they could come up to that level of compliance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Remember that for next week. Remember this.
I'll try to repeat
next
that.
week.
I'm gonna try to repeat that to my wife.
A little bit. Maximum 2030.
Okay.
So in 2030, all those police scanners go quiet. That's the theory behind it?
There's already there's different levels of encryption, so there's already some radio traffic in communities that's happening encrypted that you're already not hearing. It presents a challenge for us from an interoperability standpoint. So Kalamazoo is already using some, Allegan is using some, and then the 29th, I believe, Calhoun County goes live. And so we're going to be an island, if you will. And unfortunately, none of them are using all the same level of encryption. There are 3 levels of encryption. We will be required to have AES 256 encryption. It's the same encryption that like your banking stuff is encrypted with. So that's the standard that we're headed towards. It is also the most costly standard.
It seems to make sense that throughout the state, there are districts that they put different counties into.
Yep, we're in the 5th district.
Okay, so you're in the 5th district. Why don't these districts work together and establish a map that says, hey, we need these towers to cover this district, and some state and federal funding go in together, whether that's just over the line in Calhoun County or whether it's Kalamazoo or whatever. They don't think that way, that Berry County has to stand on their own when it comes to getting towers and spending resources to do that?
So this is a conversation that I've had with a lot of legislators, not even ours locally here, and one request that I received from them was to put together a coalition, because there are communities in Michigan that don't even have a single tower. And so when the state in the late 90s, when they did their first build out, it was 180 sites. We were fortunate to even receive that site that we received in Nashville. I don't know how that happened. I wasn't here. And then the next closest one that the state owns is where 89, where Kalamazoo, Allegan, and Berry counties come together. It's right off of M89. That is also a state-owned tower. So once they did that infrastructure build-out, they said, we're not going to do that anymore. It's going to be up to the locals. If they want to build and then incorporate them into the system, they can. But anyways, so I've had a lot of conversations, and several legislators asked me to put together a coalition. And I wasn't opposed to it, but that's going to be an extremely heavy lift, a statewide lift. And I am not interested at this point in my career in doing work for other communities. So knowing what I know now, and that I've been through this project, and that Berry County was fortunate enough to receive that $3 million allocation, there were 3 counties that year that received allocations. Midland County received $1 million, Isabella County got like 4.5 or 4.6 million, and then we got our 3 million, and that's it. But since then, a ton of communities have tried to replicate that. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, emergency managers and 911 directors, and say, how did you do this? Well, I just started having conversations. It wasn't pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And so my concern is that if I got that heavily involved and we created a coalition, it's going to be really the less densely populated communities that have even less resources than we do here that are going to, receive the fruits of that labor. And so I really hope that there's somebody smarter than me that's willing to take that project on, but at this point in time, it's not me.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
But they know, it's a challenge everywhere.
Unfunded mandates. Additional questions?
I got just one, and I might be way off base, but do you think in the future that Starlink could ever be involved to link everybody together, Stephanie?
So right now, in terms of public safety, there's no space for that radio to get to satellite. So there's no space for that. It doesn't exist. I do think that at some point in time, it's going to happen. It happens in military places now, right? Very different types of radio systems, and they're much more costly. I don't know that that's going to happen in my tenure. I don't know what's going to happen in my career, and that's not going to be any cheaper. And so that's the thing. And so think of it it would be almost similar, maybe a little bit better than like cellular coverage. We still have places where we don't have cellular coverage, right? There's a lot of places in Berry County where we still don't have really good cellular coverage. And so, and then at that point, when we get to that point in the game, now we have to figure out a space for terrestrial interference. So with the, when broadband and wireless devices, everything is connected now, right? When all of that started to come to fruition, I mean, that's the way we do life now. I just had this conversation with my daughter. We had books when I went to college. We used the Dewey, or when I went to school, the Dewey Decimal System. She thought it was hilarious that You Got Mail was when I was a senior in high school, because there's no space for that for them now, right? She has like one book. She's a junior this year. And so we were talking about technology and how it's evolved. Well, all of that uses signal. It all uses strength. It all uses some place of RF on the spectrum. And the spectrum is only so big. There's only so much space in there, and the FCC keeps giving it away. That's another conversation. And so what that has done, it has made weaker radio systems like VHF systems and UHF systems, it degrades the service. It degrades the quality of service for those systems because we have all this other interference that's out there now, Wi-Fi, cellular, even farming implements now, right? They're connected.
Satellite.
Yeah, we had an issue at one of our VHF tower sites. We don't own the site, we co-locate on it, and it was a certain time of day, a certain period of year, the site would go offline, and that's what it was attributed to. A combine that was close to the tower, and there was interference, and our VHF equipment wasn't strong enough, which makes absolute sense to me, because it's about 25 years old, and it's an analog system, so we're receiving things that are analog, and then we're converting it to digital, and then we're trying to convert it back to analog to record it. It's very cumbersome.
Thank you.
Was that enough?
Yeah, that's more than enough.
Anything else for me?
The answer is, Bob, after we spend $1 million on the new encrypted radios we need by 2030, on 31 they'll come out with the
Yeah.
satellite radios that we need to spend another $1 million on.
Thinking that eventually
Yeah.
this is what was going to change here.
But
Anything else for me?
great information and explanation, thank you.
Thank you.
some of you may not have heard me, but I said, remember this conversation next week when we talk about the Sheriff's Department radios that are, I've been working with Director Lehman, Lieutenant Stevens, Lieutenant, and Sergeant Lehman on. So just remember this whole conversation. Next, Bonnie, with the, you guys all know Bonnie, the Community Food Project.
Hi. Good morning, Commissioners. How are you? Good. Nice long weekend, and I want to say to the 4-H people, I couldn't wait to be 9 so I could join 4-H. I am here representing the Berry Community Foundation today, who was a fiduciary for the project that you awarded for the food center that we are looking to actually start construction on very soon, and we're very excited about it. But I'm actually going to invite Andrea Carbine to tell you the results and what the money was used for. I do have reports of how the invoices were paid, if you would like those.
Hi, good morning. How's everyone today? My name's Andrea Carbine, and I'm with New Venture Advisors. We were the principal consulting team that provided a lot of the expertise and support across the Community Foundation project. In this phase 2 that was focused on planning and sustainability for the Community Food Center, there were 3 primary objectives that we have put the predominance of work into. The first was finalizing the design and the model of the Community Food Center. The Community Food Center is a very progressive model. It is a hybrid of a public marketplace as well as a access point for small businesses, producers, and individuals within your community to have access to space to start a business, to grow a business, to store product, and help create healthy food resources within your community. For that, we had to refine floor plans, we built management and operational structures, and we also provided expertise into help a financial model that built a sustainable model that could demonstrate that the facility eventually could support itself over time with different revenue streams that were generated from within. The next thing we did was to help develop the opportunity to raise the funds in order to get the facility built. We have a funding specialist on our team who partnered with Bonnie from the Community Food Center in order to make sure that they have a realistic capital campaign under development to look at different sources across a variety of tools, and in order to find the way to raise the funds that are needed to complete the development. The third objective was in order to find a site and to activate the project in order to move it into implementation and build. The Community Foundation worked to establish a partnership with Copper Rock Construction, and so the Community Food Center will get built in addition with the housing project that's being built at the Stagecoach site, is that what? Royal Coach site. Copper Rock's been an excellent partner. They've done a couple of key things. They've helped to provide a site that has good accessibility for all the different functionality of the building. They've provided an allowance in order to help and create the build out of the structure itself, the building envelope and all the supporting maintenance pieces. And then they negotiated a long-term lease for the site that does have preferable terms for the operation of the facility. In tandem with those different efforts, Copper Rock has been a partner to help us refine all the flooring and development planning that needs to happen in order to specialize the spaces within the structure. And then Bonnie and the Community Foundation has worked with the action team and steering committees that have shepherded this project to date in order to transition those into an operational board that can oversee the operating entity of the project as it goes forward. 2 really crucial steps that took place when that board was formed was the hiring of Allison as an executive director who will oversee the project as it takes forward into the steps of implementation, and the decision to name it the Mill Street Market and to start developing a nonprofit entity who will eventually oversee it and provide the fiduciary and operational guidance that it needs to succeed. So all of that work has been facilitated by the funds that you allocated towards the project. The site is looking to go into construction imminently. We are finalizing some of the final design, equipment, and facility pieces that are needed for Copper Rock to break ground and in order to move forward. And then we are continuing to work on the operational context within the facility under Allison's leadership in order to make sure that on day one, she is ready to activate the programs and the different opportunities that it'll offer to your community members. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or I'm sure Allison and Bonnie would be happy to support it as well.
Fantastic. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Colton?
Okay, so this is on Mill Street and where?
What's the exact location?
So it's the old Hastings Manufacturing Building, the Royal Coach Building, across the river from the amphitheater.
Okay,
So you know where Hastings Manufacturing is? It's the big, you can see all the construction actually happening right now. They're going to be putting in 144 apartment units
okay.
in there, and then this will be a community benefit building. This part of the project was actually essential for Copper Rock to be able to receive incentives from the state of Michigan, because the state of Michigan really insists that there's mixed-use projects if they're going to invest in housing.
Okay, so what does this, I'm trying to picture, what does this look like?
I wish we would have brought that, we'll send that over to Eric. It's a 10,000 square foot building that has 1/3 of it is going to be daycare, which is really essential to the community at this point in time. Another third will be a kitchen that will be able to be utilized for aggregation of products as well as for entrepreneurs and for the culinary arts program. Right now, the culinary arts program through the high school is located inside of BCEC, and it's a beautiful program. We love the program. There's just not enough space for these kids, and the program keeps growing and growing. And then the other third will be called, what's called Argus Farms. It's a farm stop. So it's a consignment model for our local farmers to be able to bring in their products. They leave their products, and then they still are their products until they're sold. Once they sell, we pay the farmer, and then we get paid for utilizing our space. So and then there'll be a cafe in there as well. So when parents drop off their kids in the morning, they can swing through the cafe, get a cup of coffee, breakfast, and carry on. Or when they come back to pick them up, they can get pre-made dinners and go home and have some additional time with their families. So I think we've got a really good model of really nice use inside the building and for things that we really need to do, which is connecting our farmers to be able to sell their product and wares. So we're supporting small business.
So it's not going to look like, say, a farmer's market you see
No.
in these big cities. It's different functionally. So obviously, Catherine showed me a picture of the building. I mean, we put 100,000 towards it. This is obviously a much more expensive building. What's the total you think?
Well, we are going to need to raise $3 million to be able to do the project with local community members as well as grants. And Allison, I got to tell you, is an amazing grant writer. She has already gotten us 2 grants since she's come on board. The total project is going to be around $6 million. So Copper Rock is actually giving us what's called a builder's allowance. So that's another reason why we felt this was a really good time to be able to do that. It's not very often that a builder will say, here, we'll give you $3 million to build a building. So it's a pretty amazing partnership.
Okay, just one more question. I'm getting questions on it that I want to be able to answer intelligently.
Absolutely.
I'm very supportive of this.
Thank you.
So on your list of expenses, I keep seeing new venture advisors. Is that Copper Rock?
Nope, that's Andrea.
Oh, that's you.
Yep. She's our consultant that went through and did all of the deep work for us. So the thing with New Venture Advisors is that they do this type of work all over the nation. And they have some real intellectual capital that they were bringing to the table that we just didn't have here. And they were able to help us really understand what works, what doesn't work, how you put the pieces together, what the projections are. And Andrea's been really, actually, very conservative in her projections. And so we feel that we're going to be far more successful than what she's actually saying.
Okay, so that's what New Venture Advisors does, and then Copper Rock is the construction?
Copper Rock is the development company.
The development
Correct.
company.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Additional questions from commissioners? How about timeframe? If we're breaking ground this spring, summer, is this going to be operational in a year, 18 months?
We're looking at
vision?
sometime in 2026.
Really? Okay. Right, and is this food hub, food center, daycare, is this a standalone building? Or
It
is
is.
this going to be
Nope.
part of the 144?
It's totally standalone. So when you actually pull in to the complex, all of the apartments will be on that side, and then you'll pull in here. There's a circle drive so that they can pull in and drop off their kids. I mean, it's actually going to be, pretty incredible. So where the white building is now on the property is pretty close to where this building is going to be.
Okay. So it'll take some education and outreach as well. I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys have thought about a sustainability model as far as going forward, because obviously this is a big project.
It's a huge project, but we're very proud to be part of it because the foundation really believes, number one, we need housing, right? And that is the biggest component to this. But the second piece of that is we're able to meet two other additional needs, which is supporting entrepreneurs and building workforce. We're able to support our local farmers by connecting them to an opportunity to sell their products and wares without sitting in a space. And then also supporting the daycare piece, because we're in a daycare desert here in Berry County, especially when it comes to infants. So that it really meets the needs of so many things, and we're so incredibly blessed to be able to have the support of you as the commissioners of this community, of the state, who has helped infuse some money in, and of our local donors.
Okay. And this is workforce housing, or is this mixed?
It's a mixed. So 25% of the housing will be considered workforce, 75% will be market rate. But we do believe that all housing creates movement, right? So while we're working on that, we're also working on a new idea, which you'll hear about, which is called a community land trust. And you'll hear more about that as we move forward. But that gives us an opportunity to build homes in an affordable way that will keep them affordable for 99 years. So.
Commissioner Bassett's been quite an advocate, and she's already mentioned those words, so we are a little familiar with that, but it sounds amazing, so.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you guys do leading in the community and just really collecting resources together and uniting people for common cause. So it's solving a lot of problems, it's working well together, so certainly
you.
appreciate all you guys are doing. And thanks for coming this morning and giving us a little more background.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
I have been involved with a number of conversations about farmers markets lately because I have a stepson who has become very invested in apples. And he is currently selling at a number of the farmers markets around the area. But, yeah, the challenge is when you have seasonal crops like that, what's the expectation off-season? And how do we give priority to local growers as opposed to people that go in and buy wholesale in Chicago and bring it back here and, here I am at my farmer's market,
Right.
not with my homegrown crops.
Right, so our goal is local as possible, and there'll be, when you look at like selling apples, we'll have 3 to 4 farmers who that's their goal and what they sell. And we'll look at where they live, what they produce to. Our whole goal is to keep it as local and central Berry County as possible. However, we know not every crop is grown in Berry County, right? So then you look at regional, so Michigan, maybe a little larger, but the goal is to engage with the farmer, not the wholesaler, and to really be personable and have those connections, so that when their product sells, they set the price in the store, they receive roughly 70% of the commission back. And whereas typically it's like 10% that they would get back if they sell to a large wholesaler. So I'm not sure if that really answered your question.
Well, kind of. I mean,
so-
obviously, you're aware of the.
Correct.
Of the concern.
Yes.
I mean, the perfect example is, he is now participating with the Caledonia market. They require him to be there every
Yes.
week.
Right, so that's what this.
Funny, there are no apples growing on his trees right now.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's-
So we understand seasonality and that things come and go. So that's how, you aren't required to sell every single week of the year. It's as you have product, and that's our job, is to manage the different crops and the seasons, and to understand through our relationship with farmers what's available when. But looking at and understanding who has what crop, how many of each crop will we support, because obviously you don't want 40 carrot farmers trying to sell at once. But they will not be required to be there. We are still going to have the typical farmer's market in Hastings, as you now know it, and make that all work together so that people are able to purchase 5 to 7 days a week, something they maybe could only get on a Saturday typically. So the whole goal is to increase agriculture in the county and in the region, and support farmers so that they can do their job and not stand at a stand every week.
And I think that's a really important point, that the facility is based upon a public market model.
Right.
And one of the things that the model does is it looks at the fact that farmers would like to be farming on their farms and not standing at a stand in a farmer's market. The farmer's market model is actually starting to see less and less uptake across the country. And so when you build a facility like this, the hope is that the structural pieces that you're including in the overall model provide space support to allow those farmers multiple different channels to sell their business. So there is the farm stop model that will be a consumer-based, right? A place that consumers can come in and buy that product. There could be different opportunities, though, with additional storage and aggregation space that's built into the facility to potentially buy some of that product from the farmers, not only to sell directly to consumers, but to sell to some of the businesses and the organizations around your county that are looking for fresh product as well. So trying to create multiple ways that the farmer can come to one facility and maybe have 3 or 4 different outlets for his product from one site, maximize their time and their opportunity as well. Secondly, though, the facility has all these production spaces in it which allow the extension of that season. So if your son is growing apples and there's a specific growing season, he could come use the facility to dehydrate his apples and make apple chips, to cook down his apples and make applesauce, and create an abundance of products that extend his selling season over the course of more months of the year. So we're creating commercial kitchen facilities, storage areas, all those additional spaces that help to support the different producers and different small businesses that want to operate and sell product.
I'll just add to that, and that was really the impetus for the application for ARPA funds in the first place, is this recognition that Berry County didn't have any facilities. They lacked storage, they lacked processing and aggregation space. And so all those things ultimately came together to produce this food center, to help someone just like what you're talking about.
Apple chips sound delicious. Banana chips, maybe some kettle corn, who knows?
I'm actually thinking about all the kids at the daycare eating all this fresh food as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Additional questions from commissioners? Great information, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to hearing about the groundbreaking and everything else going forward. so.
Oh, you will be invited.
Awesome. Eric, is there anything else we need to cover on that?
Not an ARPA.
Okay. I know the Berry County Water Tower is in process. The pieces are there. They were waiting on a crane to start assembling it, so that should all be happening soon. And I think the goal to get that tower online was within 6 months, so if everything went according to the plan, or sooner. So we'll update you as soon as we hear more than that. So thank you, Eric. Good information. I appreciate you putting that together for us. Public hearings, we have none. Items for consideration, Commissioner Colton.
Approval of transfers and disbursements. I make that motion to approve that.
Okay, motion by Colton for the approval of claims in the amount of $148,447.51. Is there support?
Support, Campbell.
Motion by Colton, support by Campbell for approval of claims in the amount of $148,447.51. Additional discussion? All those, roll call, please. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Carlton.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Hatfield.
Aye.
Smelter is absent. Tennyson.
Aye.
Bassett's absent. Jackson.
Aye. The motion is approved. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have none. County Administrator's report?
And I promise you, this is just ironic and it's not planned. But remember the conversation about the housing project for next week too. Because Copper Rock and Leaning Green, Michigan will be back for the first PACE request. The document came in on Friday, so we're reviewing those things right now. But everything looks like it ties out, so as requested, you'll see that next week and hopefully approve it the following week. So they would like to close their financing and get moving on the project. And this is the last piece. So FYI on that. Yeah, Bonnie mentioned the Community Land Trust. That's something that we've been asked to participate in, and Commissioner Bassett made sure that I was aware of what was going on, so that, or dragged me in, but not kicking and screaming, because I'm really supportive of the concept. So Bonnie and Duska from the Community Foundation, I went up to Grand Rapids to see an open house at a project up there. So very interesting concept, very nice project up there in Grand Rapids. The last few weeks, you've heard some things on the solar project. I'm working with planning and zoning to make sure we answer those concerns. We'll have more information coming in the near future. But I would assure commissioners, if you have any questions, just reach out to me anytime. You have my numbers. Feel free to have any concerns. We'll address them. And tomorrow, I'm heading to Western Michigan tomorrow to meet with the medical examiner's office. Commissioner Tennyson was very helpful in bringing some concerns forward on how things may be working right now. So I'm going to try and head this off at the pass and see what we can do to rectify that. A lot of it sounds like some communication issues. So if you hear anything from any of your communities, especially the funeral homes in your communities, encourage them to reach out to me. Hopefully we'll resolve this. I know Dar's got some concerns with how some things went with his son, so we're going to try and get this rectified as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Chairperson's report. We have the final tax allocation board meeting tomorrow at 1 p.m. and we also have an EDA meeting tomorrow morning at 8. Other than that, it's a fairly light week until we get into the following month. So, Vice Chairperson's report. Commissioner Hatfield.
Joint Planning Commission met last week. Some discussion on the Meyer issue, which continues to move forward with negotiations between the city and the township, and some involvement on our part. County Planning Commission is tonight. Economic Development Advisory Committee was last week. Still a lot going on.
Absolutely. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Campbell.
Just visited CAA. It's been rather quiet and quite pleasant. So,
there you go. Thank you. Commissioner Tennyson.
Like you said, it's been fairly quiet till next month, but I do have an airport meeting tomorrow, and that's about it for this week.
Okay. Commissioner Getty.
I have a meeting with Village Midville tonight, and we have a COA steering committee meeting Thursday, I believe. And
That's right.
so, yeah,
Wednesday.
tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, it's Tuesday already. Like it or not. Really. Commissioner Colton.
Seen a bit of construction in my commissioner district. They're adding on to the Woodland Fire Barn. And that is one of the pride and joys of Woodland and Woodland Township, is that fire barn and the fire department in general. In Nashville, a lot of work going on in Putnam Park. It's getting upgraded. It'll be really nice when they're done. We got some grants,
Awesome.
so that'll be great.
Fantastic. Okay. Limited public comment at this time. Any member of the public may address the board for up to 3 minutes on anything on your mind.
Stephen Pitch, Yankee Springs Township. Next week, when you talk about the radios for the sheriff's office, please don't forget the posse. Everything we do, we're all volunteers. Everything we do is for our county, for the public, keeping them safe. Our radios are our lifeline. And if we don't get encrypted radios too, we can't do our jobs. So please keep the posse in mind.
Thank you. Additional public comment?
Good morning. I am Bill Hendry, and I'm the District 8 Director for MSU Extension. I understand you heard from the best part of Extension, and that is our local staff. But I did want to say hello, and I apologize for coming in this late, but at another meeting I was coming from. And I do want to give an update on the successor for Scott, who left to go back to K-12 education. We had fantastic interviews on Monday. I believe that of the two candidates who presented and interviewed, we will have our next district director for this district. So that's encouraging news. But in the meantime, I'm around if anybody needs a district director. Like I said, our staff is what's most important in our office. And I also live just up the road in Caledonia, so very close to Berry County.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional public comment? Hearing none. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Calton?
And
Commissioner Getty?
I thought it was great to hear the updates on ARPA, and Stephanie Lehman is just such an asset to the county, and it's things that we don't necessarily know about until we need them, right? And her proactive approach and aggressive to seek funding for those resulted in 2 towers and an expansion of coverage in the county that started with the ARPA allocation and then the state allocation as well. I just don't think that we can thank her enough for the efforts that she, puts forth in ensuring that we have coverage, is enough, as much coverage as we can possibly have. And of course, money being an issue, that's always going to be a problem and a limitation. But we're just really lucky to have Stephanie as a leader in our county. The Community Food Center project, I think, we're going to, in 18 months, 24, at the longest, we're going to be able to shop for local fruits and vegetables that our friends and neighbors are growing in their fields. And I think you're really going to see the impact of that $100,000 investment.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Vice Chair Hatfield.
I was also happy to hear that update because at a function I was at over the weekend, I had someone come up and say, I hear they're building a grocery store as a part of the new project. Yeah. What are we doing competing with our local stores? And no, it's not a grocery store. And it's a multifunctional facility. So I have now got much more information to go back to them with than I had. I had just enough to be able to tell them the error of their awareness, but not enough to tell them what was really going on. So now I do.
Perfect. Commissioner Campbell.
I'd just like to throw out a thank you to Berry County in general for the past weekend in supporting our veterans, past veterans. I, being a Vietnam era veteran, went through some turmoil times back here in our country, but I can honestly say I was a member of Berry County back then, and Berry County was not taken in by some of the things that happened back then. Berry County has always been welcoming to the veterans, and they continue to do so now, and it's just, it's an honor to be a part of Berry County because of that reason.
Thank you. Commissioner Tennyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week when people were here bringing up concerns about the solar project down there in Johnstown Township, the next day I told myself I'm going down there to see for myself. Drove down Hickory Road and there was a sense of reality that hit me, you know, that I've been driving by those fields for my whole life, you know. Worked in Berry County, I drive many, many roads. And there was orange silt fence around, which just totally caught my eye as it was an eyesore. It was like the sense that, wow, you know, this is actually here now. And I went to the township of Johnstown and talked to the clerk and stuff, and was trying to get some information on some things. Realized right across the road from there that the same orange silt fence was over there, so they're going to have to look at that right out the west door. So, not to say that change in our lives is not going to happen, but to see farmland that I've driven by were rolling cornfields and bean fields and stuff like that, to know what's going to be there. But I think there's going to be some answers as far as, you know, we do have plans. It was brought up that there wasn't a decommission plan. We do have that in place. There was a lot of things that were brought up that I think we've done our due diligence as commissioners to try to write a strict ordinance on this stuff. So I just want to make everybody aware that I did take the time to go do that. I think other commissioners have done the same, so.
Thank you. And I agree with those comments, and at some point, we'll have Greg Moore or a consumers rep up here to address some of these. I know I've asked Eric to follow up on some of the comments that were made last week, but as you mentioned, there is a decommissioning plan, there is a bonding plan. They have the material safety data sheet showing that there's no PFAS in any of these panels. To my knowledge, there are no active drains on that property, so there are some concerns, but the orange silt fence or whatever that is, if it was green or black or camo or something else, I mean, it's just eye-catching when it's orange. So maybe there's some things we can work with them and promote better change in there, or at least some communication as to why this is going on. There were a few other questions we don't have the answers to yet, but I know Eric's working on that, and we'll have an update for that shortly as well. So we thank you for coming out this morning. Hopefully y'all had a great long weekend. I can't believe it's Tuesday already, but here we are. So